I have no voice. You have no mind left. It has just been utter chaos for the past 12 hours. Rach, obviously you were there, so I just want to like soak up every part of like energy and atmosphere. I want to be everything that your eyeballs saw and experienced last night, mate, because I can't even imagine what it was like.
Mind gone. Like, I was talking to Soph about this, and it was the same thing in Euro 2022, how we both experienced it separately. She's up in the press box, I'm down shooting, and I was like, you have people around you and immediately around you that you know that you can like go through these stressful moments with and enjoy the high moments with. I was like, I'm surrounded by like pretty much people I don't know, so you're just like on your own, just being like, I don't really know how the fuck, like, yeah, it was that kind of vibe. You know, it was disbelief that they came through the way they did. I actually think it was quite fitting that they won it on penalties, because it felt like this tournament was a fucking grind, and they were not giving up that trophy it had to be prized from their cold dead hands. They were clinging on to that European trophy with every fibre of their being. They were not going to give up without a fight, and it just felt so perfect that it ended up going. I mean, I wish it hadn't. I wish they bloody won it in 90 minutes, but it felt so perfect that it went down to penalties. It was like, this is how far we have to go to hang on to this bloody trophy. I didn't feel as nervous in the final as I did in the quarterfinals and the semi-finals. And I think, like you said, I think you said it before we started recording, had they lost and played the way they played, yeah, you'd be disappointed, but you'd be like, bloody hell, what a fight. Yeah. And like, yeah, I just think in those moments you don't really know what to do because you're doing a job. You're kind of milling around trying to get all these moments and capture all these memories and capture all these kind of coming togethers of players, and, you know, you're trying to take it in, but also like, I need to do my job. So it's quite a like, kind of moment, to be honest. I don't think I summed that up at all.
No, 100%. I think like, obviously you still have to be a complete professional. And then at the same time, there's this like unprofessional thoughts that you just want to like run across the pitch and like go and hug Chloe Kelly and Michelle Agyemang. Like, I can only imagine like how frustrating it is not to kind of, as I just let yourself go and still maintain that you've got this job to do. But I was a little bit the same. So I was at, we did a watch long party in London, and 100% like a big thanks to everyone who came, because like the vibes and the atmosphere, and as you said, Rach, it was kind of like a sense of, you know, we could have nicked this game very early doors. There's a couple of like clear chances which we'll get into, but the way that England went about it, like they were out of possession a lot of the time, and it felt like that was the game plan. They knew that was going to take place. It felt very calm, very assured, and that we were still in it through the entire 90 minutes. I think it felt like Spain kind of elevated England's performance. Like they had to step up to the plate, and they knew that. But throughout the entire 90 minutes, it was just pure drama. You didn't know which way it was going to go. It was a complete pendulum game. And then to go into extra time, I predicted it was going to be 1-1 at full time, and then we were going to nick it 2-1 in extra time. I didn't anticipate penalties, but penalties are always great for a watch long, because then you have like the E's and the R's. We had a couple of missed penalties.
They were great. Like, it was a great penalty shootout.
100%. The quality of the penalties was there.
Unbelievable saves.
And then you finish on Chloe Kelly scoring the winning penalty with that ridiculously like eccentric run up that she does, and I honestly couldn't call it. But then you had the drama with Beth Mead and the VAR penalty at the start, and we'll talk about that, because I still don't really understand. But Chloe Kelly scoring that winner, and she put it in the post-match. She said, I don't miss penalties twice. Her penalty was the fastest recorded goal at the tournament. The ball went 110 kilometres per hour. What a way to finish a Euros.
Like, this girl is ridiculous. And like, Sophie asked her a question in the press conference, which was pretty cool, because she got like an unbelievable line out of her. She asked her about that journey over the last 6 months and what she's been through, and now she's come and won a European, she's won, you know, the Champions League, she's won the Euros, and she was kind of saying, you know, what would you say to people who have to make these kind of difficult decisions, and how they can turn out for you? And she gave this really great answer, and at the end she said, and I want to say thank you to everyone who wrote me off, I'm grateful. And I was like, oh, what a mic drop moment. Like, aura.
I can't even, like, I mean, there was the fear, wasn't it? I think once you go to penalties, it becomes even more, the whole game was 50-50, but once you go to penalties, it really is just like, who's going to hold their nerve? And I think we've seen bad penalties from Spain. We've seen bad penalties from England. At this point, it just felt like we didn't really know what was going to happen. Then we have Hannah Hampton saving 2 penalties. And these aren't bad penalties. Like, the pace of the ball, like her managing to get
Caldente and Bon Mati, like, hello.
100%. And Hannah Hampton was saying afterwards that she had no idea how many penalties they were on and had to ask the crowd if they were going to win if Chloe Kelly scored.
I love that.
I mean, what on earth? She dived the right way 4 times. And I don't think people understand sometimes how difficult it is to do the basics in those high pressure moments, because it's just like, it's a hand in the wrong way. It's being a foot off your line when you should be deeper in goal. You're the wrong starting position. It's like not lining the wall up the wrong way. It's not being prepared for like a Bon Mati coming at you, but having to like Katrin Berger being caught off guard with having to keep an eye on the box and keep an eye on the ball. It's all those little things in those moments. She did absolutely perfect. It was flawless from her.
And it must be so hard when you're playing against a team like Spain, who are going to have so many touches in the box. You're going to have so many players in the box. You've got so many defenders and midfielders back defending. You've got so many legs in the box. And I thought like the whole team stuck to the game plan 100%. You know, Leah Williamson didn't commit a single foul in that entire 120 minutes, which is phenomenal when you're having to put in so many tackles. But for a goalkeeper, you have to be ready for the mistake. You have to be ready for this 1 second late tackle or leg or the deflection or the quick ball or the back heel or against Spain. So yeah, I just thought Hannah Hampton, her defence in front, I'm going into everybody, but fuck me, Jess Carter. Like, I just absolute flowers to the girl after what she's gone through in this tournament. A tough start for her. She knew she didn't play well in the opening games, then having to deal with racist abuse, coming out, speaking out about it, coming on at the very end of that Italy game and coming in to the final.
Galvanising the squad in that Italy game as well. Like, she came on with such like a leadership attitude, like full of beans, full of emotion.
Giving it this,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And to do that
and
off
she
the
was
back
the
of what's
same
happened is incredible.
Yesterday, almost perfect from her. And then at the end, when the final whistle went, I thought this was really interesting. Alex Greenwood dropped down on her haunches, kind of knackered, understandably knackered. And Jess Carter turned to the fans and started giving it this, right? And she turned to Alex and she was like, come on now, come on, like clapping her hands. She was like, come on, like really giving it all of that. It was almost like, we've gotten this far. We can do this now. Like, and I think I said this on the last pod when I was saying head said Spain, heart said England, that we perhaps underestimated the impact of what they've gone through to get to the final and how much that would have galvanised them and how much they would look back on those and say, we got through that. Then we got through that. We can absolutely get through this. And I think that side of things is perhaps goes unnoticed because it's not really something you can teach. It's just something you have to go through in order to benefit from it. So yeah, I think it kind of, the way the game played out just seemed to be the perfect summary of England's tournament.
Well, I think it's like there's been a doggedness to this tournament. There's been a kind of like a real resilience in having to dig deep in those tough moments. I mean, like you said there with Jess Carter and what she's experienced, then you've got Lucy Bronze taping up her own leg in the last game. It was then
she played with a fractured tibia for the
entire
whole tournament,
which
like
is
she's
absolutely
bionic.
Ridiculous. Which is absolutely ridiculous and very unsafe, and I don't condone that.
Don't condone it.
Also, at the same time, that's like the most kind of like British bulldog mentality I think I've ever cut. And then obviously you've had like Leah Williamson took a few knocks. You've got Hannah Hampton with the bleeding nose and the tampon. I mean,
LJ,
yeah. I mean, let's talk a little bit about LJ, because I think everyone was a little bit worried about whether she was going to make the start with her coming off in the previous game. I didn't think it was her best, because she was taken off at half time.
Yeah, she wasn't fit.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened there and the decision that was made, whether that was LJ trying to force herself to go on or whether that was the England team trying to get her on and match fit. But at the same time, I don't think it was the right decision. It was clear that she wasn't fully at the races and on her A game from the outset. Would you say that's fair, Rach?
So for me, LJ is the kind of player you take the gamble on because she is a game changer. She's not a player that I think necessarily will impact off the bench in the same way she'd start a game, right? So I can understand the decision to risk her. I think, yes, she struggled. She wasn't fit. And I think, look, sometimes in training you think, you know what? We can get a half out of you. Like, I think, had the game initially gone the way we might have thought it was with Alessia Russo's chance and Lauren Hemp's chance, and you thought maybe England would be 2-0 up, suddenly that decision doesn't look as crazy or as risky, right? And I think because the game went the way it did, and to be fair to LJ, she did some really good defensive work in spite
She was tracking back really well. Yeah.
So, I heard like Ian Wright saying it was a waste of a sub, and I'm like, well, it wasn't, because Chloe Kelly was always going to come on, and probably going to come on at 50 or 60 minutes for LJ. So I don't actually think it was a waste of a sub. And actually, her going off and being substituted so early, it gave Spain a whole new challenge to think about. And Chloe Kelly provided a different challenge to Spain. And I think that kind of almost lifted the game a little bit. So I can understand, and I think had they lost, my God, that decision would have been absolutely hammered. But for me, LJ is the kind of player that you take a risk on. There aren't many players you will do that with, but she is a game changer. She can produce moments of magic. And when you're playing against a team like Spain and you're not going to get many chances, sometimes you got to take that risk. So I can understand the criticism of it, though, for sure.
Yeah, I think that was there was definitely a frustration with myself and also the crowd at the watch along. Kind of, why is she started? Like, why is she taking that space if she's not fully fit? Because, if you're facing one of the toughest teams in the world and it's in one of the most important moments of England's career, like you should be starting an 11 that is fully fit, like regardless of whether LJ is a game changer in the game. So I can understand the frustration. I think even when we could kind of see that she wasn't, there was a couple of like forays forward that didn't feel like they were fully like energetic. I think I've got to give credit to her. She did track back. There were so many defensive moments that she really held her own, but at the same time, it just felt like, oh, was that the right call? But it obviously worked out. But I think we know and love seeing Chloe Kelly come into that impact sub type role. So it felt that even though LJ had kind of made it to the 45 minutes, it then kind of made sure that Chloe Kelly still fit into that. Because it would have been interesting to see how she would have got on had she started from the outset. Because Chloe Kelly, the energy that she brings to the game, you can't sustain that for 90 minutes plus another 30 minutes at the end. So even just giving Chloe, I suppose, those 45 minutes, it kind of felt like actually Chloe could operate at a much higher level than she could have done potentially had she started for the first 45. So credit to LJ in that way. Like, it did kind of work out obviously for the best, but also
factoring in she was playing on the other side as well. So Hemp had been put out on the right rather than the left, which I thought was really interesting. And Sarina spoke a little bit about, I do think part of that move is Hemp was able to track back and cover the space when Lucy went forward, which I think is very important against Spain because that was an area they exploited at the World Cup. But I think as well, it allowed, she was talked about her wingers inverting, and that kind of helps to kind of add more bodies to the middle, but it also allows for more direct running when your wingers are inverting, and that we know that that's an area that Spain struggle with. So that was interesting that she'd switched their sides. So you had a right footer on the left and a left footer on the right, so they'd be inverting, which was quite interesting. And that's another thing to factor in for LJ. She was playing on the other side than what she'd been playing previously. So I just thought like those little tweaks, I know everyone likes to say she's predictable and blah, 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 but those little tweaks are really quite important when we think about like the chess match that unfolded.
Honest to God. And I think, this is a player who was considering quitting football at the start of the year. Now she has a Champions League medal and another Euros medal. The minute that she came on, obviously getting the assist, then getting that winning goal, it kind of felt like, and the tournament that she's had, the impact that she's made, especially in those last couple of games, like literally like minutes away from death for the England camp, and then she's become kind of like the nation's saviour, as well as obviously our absolute queen. We've got to give some more love to Michelle Agyemang, awarded the young player of the tournament. This final was her fifth England cap. She's 19 years old. The minute that she came on the pitch, it was like at least Sarina had given her, it was the 72nd minute or something around there, where she had that time to kind of grow into the game. There was because the standard set for Michelle Agyemang is so high, when it got to about the 81st, 82nd minute, people were like, gosh, she's not scored.
Oh my God.
This isn't good
she's
enough.
She's going downhill.
Yeah, it's not good enough for me. What's going on? But at the same time, everything that she did was absolutely bang on. So like, she was tracking back. She was providing defensive support. She was then, dragging the ball forward. She was taking players on. She was providing that physicality up front. We saw that hold up play again with her. This is a player who has had probably the least, for the sort of main England body of the camp, has had the least amount of time, has made the most amount of impact. Rach, even the dance that she was doing. So they had the England players lining up, guard of honour, as she goes to pick up her trophy. And she has this little dance, and we saw like a little bit of like the Michelle personality, which was so lovely to see, given that.
Check out this photo of her going up to take it and the whole team.
Oh God, the energy and the buzz around her, like everyone was so proud of her. It kind of felt like a squad of her 25 older sisters who were just so proud of what she'd achieved. And I think
have your moment. Like she literally had to be pushed into the centre to be like, have it, live it. This is incredible.
And I think we've seen so much professionalism from Mish. Like, you know, as soon as she scores, grabbing the ball, as soon as she gets in bed in the tackle, she's had those like, you know, arguments with referees to try and make sure that, you know, everything's justified. And then in that moment, we'll get onto this in a second, but like in that moment, it was like the personality of her really came through and the happiness shone, and they kept panning over to her dad, who could not have been prouder. It was just, we had the chance going for her. She's just been such an absolute icon of this tournament, Rach.
Unbelievable. Revelation. You know, the sky is the limit for her to come into your first major tournament as a wild card, let's be real, as a wild card, and to have the impact she's had, to go away as young player of the tournament. And look, I think the reason perhaps she might not have had the impact that we're so used to seeing her have is because she was a direct replacement for Alessia Russo, who ran her legs off this tournament. I would love to see how many kilometres she's run in this tournament, because all day yesterday she was running and running and running, and she was, you know, tired, clearly tired. And I think there was a little bit of you almost didn't feel as though England were likely to score when she came off. It just didn't feel as effective or threatening. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, we've seen Michelle play in the two and be so incredibly effective in that kind of setup. But it's understandable. She did the job she needed to do when she came on. And I wasn't happy with the way she was refereed, and it's been a bit of a theme this tournament. And it's, it doesn't sit well with me. I think she had a couple of really good challenges where she was called up for a foul. She got fouled and the foul was given against her. And refs need to look at themselves in those moments, because there's a bit of a theme creeping in those moments. You know, I think she's, you say a physical player, but she's very, very intelligent with her physicality and the way she uses it. So I wasn't happy about that. I remember in the semi-final, the ref shouted in her face when she was insisting on Italy playing the ball out from where it was meant to be played out from. Like, is that such a bad thing to ask? So, in the face of that, I thought she was, incredibly mature. She obviously isn't used to the limelight, and the players around her made sure that she got her moment. She had that moment of obviously getting her young player of the tournament trophy. She had to come and step in front of all of the photographers. She didn't know where to go, you know, and they were like, oh, you gotta go and get your photo taken with all the photographers. And then as well, I have a lovely video afterwards of the England fans down at the end with the England fans, and they the fans start the Michelle Agyemang chant, and she's just pushed out in front. They're like, get out there. All the England team are singing the Michelle Agyemang chant, and then they all just like go all around her, and it's just, man, that's what dreams are made of, isn't it?
Honest to God, I couldn't think of anything I'd rather do at 19 years old than be in a crowd full of England fans celebrating the fact that I've pretty much been a pivotal part of making sure they won this historic trophy. Rach, you touched a little bit there on some of the referee decisions, and I've got to agree. And the weirdest thing was, it was Stephanie Frappart who was managing the game, and you think she's one of the most experienced refs in the game, has so much respect with the entire community, like always considered a very fair, very balanced referee, you know, highly respected. But there was a number of calls that were being made that it really didn't. It felt very Spain centric. I've got to say, I never like saying that refs are biased. There obviously was no bias, but it didn't feel like there was that balance that we would normally see from a referee like that. And then we started to see more of the dark arts creep into Spain. I mean, there was a couple of challenges that Spain, like the diving, my gosh. And I was like, how is that not being picked up? That some of these dives should be yellow carded. They were so awful. And because the nature of the fouls and where they were taking place, they were then leading to free kicks in super dangerous areas. Yeah. Those are the kind of decisions then that can make a massive, massive impact.
Yeah, I think actually I've been a little bit frustrated with the refereeing at this tournament a number of times, which is a real shame, because it is an area of the game that is growing. And, you know, we've spoken about it in the league, and we've chatted with PGMOL, and we know the work that goes into it. And, you know, but there were games where referees had some really bad games, and it could have impacted the outcome of the games. And I think when you've got things like VAR and stuff in place, it shouldn't be happening, and it can be quite frustrating. And not just for England. Like, I mean, that was my 19th game, okay? So I've seen every single team play in this tournament live, and it was not just England games where it was frustrating. It was a lot of other games where it was frustrating. It was only one or two England games where I was a little bit like, what the fuck? So that was a little bit frustrating, and I do actually think more referees from the WSL should have been there, because I know we talk a lot about it, but in terms of quality, they are up there with, in terms of the rest of the world and Europe and stuff like that. So it was a shame there wasn't more WSL referees at the Euros. But yeah, I don't want to drag the refs. I know it's a very difficult job, and
For sure.
a lot of games, and getting Frappard again at the final was big. But yeah, a couple of decisions I was quite surprised at.
Definitely.
Sure.
I mean, Rach, talk to me about I just want to touch on the VAR penalty, because there was, I still now cannot understand what exactly happened, why the retake actually took place, because it seemed like a legitimate penalty to me. And the worst thing about it is that then Beth Mead goes on to miss, and you think, is that the moment that actually the luck runs dry?
Yeah, and I really felt for her, because both penalties were good penalties, and the second penalty, it was an incredible save.
Great save.
And that's the thing, like, the Williamson penalty was the same. A very good penalty, but a very good save from Kato Koya in goal. Like the Beth Mead one, she was diving and managed to get her hand up to get a hand to it. It was incredible. But what happened basically was there were two touches. I don't know, like, very hard to see, that's why you have VAR, but as she slipped, her slipping foot would have touched the ball as she shot.
I see.
And you can't have two touches in the
oh
penalty.
God, that's so harsh.
Yeah, but I would have thought that it just would have been ruled out. I didn't know you got to go again.
That is absolutely, because we could not work it out, and because like the game then escalated and there just wasn't enough, and then because we won it, then no one even bothered to look back. So I was kind of thinking, what on earth happened? But let's talk about the impact of what that win actually means. This is Sazzy Wieg winning every single Euros final that she's managed. So she's won 3 Euros trophy. Karen Barsley said on 5 Live, "If I ever have kids, I'm going to name them all Sarina." I mean, obviously, we've had so many narratives like around whether this is going to be, Sarina's last game with the Lionesses, like people calling for her head if this doesn't go to plan.
Stupid shit.
The manner in which we've won the games and got to the final wasn't good enough. Like, we've had these narratives, like we've had, is Sarina getting the best out of the squad? And then I think it kind of felt like, like you were saying, the Lionesses and Sarina are all in this kind of bubble. Hopefully she's managed to weather the storm of like what's been going on, these outside narratives, but to come through this tournament with all the kind of, negativity, I think, that has been around the Lionesses, and to ride this out and prove to people, look, no other manager has done this. No other manager has brought this level of success to an England football team ever. This is phenomenal. Back-to-back Euros trophies is nothing short of like the most impressive accolade that we've seen in modern like sporting history. Like, I mean, Rach, you've always been a firm believer in shut the hell up to the Sarina doubters.
Yeah, I just think like players, it's not always going to be perfect, and managers aren't going to get everything right, and they're learning and developing as the game goes on. And like, yes, she's managing one of the best teams. It doesn't mean that she knows absolutely everything and everything's going to be perfect. And as every team improves, she has to improve, and I think yesterday showed how good a tactician her and Arian is, and her backroom staff, and how impactful they can be. But equally, they're going to face challenges that they then have to problem solve in game. That Sweden game, that did not go to plan. Didn't start the way they planned. They didn't plan to be 2-0 down within like 25 minutes. The Italy game, they didn't plan to be 1-0 down 90 plus minutes. Do you know what I mean? And those decisions have to happen in really intense, moments. And someone asked her in the pre-match press conference, like, what's going through her head during these moments? Because the rest of us are all having a heart attack. And she looked so cool, calm and collected. And she was like, oh no, I am having a heart attack. I'm just very good at hiding it. And even in the press conference yesterday, it was so funny. She was talking and her watch was like, you are doing a workout or something like that. And she kind of looked at it and just carried on. And about 2 minutes later goes, the workout is over. And she was like, oh, apparently I'm doing a workout. I don't want to be doing that. So that tells you her heart rate was probably pretty bloody high. So yeah, I just think sometimes people are so, particularly with respect in English media, so quick to judge immediately. And it was the same in the game yesterday. LJ, Spanish goal, and already the narrative started. They got this wrong. LJ's shit. Sarina shouldn't have done this. Oh my God. Never going to score a goal. Wasted a sub. Like, immediately it's just bang, 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 bang. You're like, fucking hell, guys. Like, give it a minute. If you've learned nothing from this tournament.
I think it's, I think when you sort of like review back on the tournament, and we're probably going to do a little bit more of this tomorrow, so I won't get too into it, but you do miss, I suppose, the positive things that Sarina has done. I mean, building that mentality around the squad so they have that resilience to go into these tournaments and come off the bag. Managing a situation like Jess Carter and everything that that she's been through personally, and then giving her the trust and support to allow her to come back onto the field again. Even from the first game, learning around sort of having LJ and Toon on, or, you know, trusting in Michelle Agyemang and giving the youth that kind of, you know, trust and belief that they can go on and do amazing things.
She never brings through young players, Chloe, though.
I think it's like you do forget that there's those magic moments that have been created and generated because of Sarina. And I think when you have that experience, having been in 2 Euros finals previously, like, you know, like, you have so much, like, you're the only manager who can really, you know, understand like what the players are going through in those moments and how to get the best of them. So yeah, it hasn't been the prettiest tournament, 100%. It hasn't. We can't say any different. But have we secured another European Championship? Yes, we bloody had. And like, you could see the heart in that last game. Like, yes, the other games, like, we've dissected and it hasn't gone to plan, but in that game, we cannot fault anything that the Lionesses pretty much did.
I think when you have a team that will still run through a brick wall for their manager 3 years on, you know, Chloe Kelly has been full of praise for Sarina throughout this tournament. Every player has, to be honest. And, you know, I think about someone like a Beth Mead, for example, who last Euros played such a pivotal, standout, starring role, top goal scorer, player of the tournament, 6 goals, 5 assists, like, unbelievable time. And she had such a different role in this tournament, but understood the impact she needed to have for this team. And she came on twice and played out of position. She came on yesterday and played in the 10. That is, like, that's not Beth Mead's role. That is not a role she is familiar with. And she's done that multiple times. And I think that is a good example of the relationship that players have with managers. They will go on, they will play wherever the manager asks them to play. The manager trusts that they can go and play in a position that they're not used to playing. And I think maybe being able to get out of players that grit, that heart, like the celebrations of players who didn't get minutes. It tells you everything you need to know. Because if you, and this is something Fran Kirby said to me a couple of weeks back when I had a chat with her for another project during the Euros, but she said, no one gives a shit. You go onto Maya Letizier's Wikipedia page. She's a European champion. Mm-hmm. She's won the Euros. Everyone's medal looks the same. And, you know, you need those players pushing you week in, week out, in training, on the bench. You know, they all play a role. And I think that's maybe that one of the most difficult parts of major tournaments is making sure that every single 23 players that are there know the importance of their role and give absolutely everything to the role, because otherwise you're not going to have the kind of performance that you get from the team where they absolutely dig in to the very end. And I think, yeah, that kind of shows you what maybe one of the biggest strengths of her as a manager is.
Definitely. And you can't also forget the impact of like having 2 major leadership players, like senior leader players, drop out of the squad a mere minutes before the tournament started. Millie Bright pulling out there and thinking, okay, we've got to rejig things, we've got to rework things. I mean, Hannah Hampton, stepping up. I think she was absolutely phenomenal, being a leader, being confident. I think the relationship that you saw building with her in this sort of the post-match scenes, her and Kiara Keating obviously getting on super, super well. So yeah, it just, I don't know, it was just a really beautiful thing to watch at the end. And like you said there, in terms of the doggedness and kind of the heart that England had, Leah Williamson said, the way we defended as a team, nothing came through us. It felt like it was going to be our day. We have ridden our luck, but I don't think we were lucky. And I think that was kind of the conversation that we had with Rachel Brown-Finnis yesterday. I mean, we can't get away from the fact we've barely touched on Spain, but they put them under so much pressure in that first half and at the start of the second. Let's not forget they went ahead after just 25 minutes through that Mariona Caldenti header, and what a header it was. It definitely exposed our weaknesses, that we switched off massively.
Lapse of judgment.
100%.
Lapse of judgment for a second.
But it happens. It does happen. But the thing is that when it happens, like in a Spain scenario, that it's often critical. I mean, I was looking at the possession stats because I was just interested to see how much we actually managed to get into this game, because it felt like we were in the game for large chunks of it, but surprised that we're only 35% possession for England. So what we did manage to achieve in that time is incredible.
Well, dig into those stats, right? Because 35% possession, and then you look at key stats like number of shots created, England 8, Spain 22, number of shots on target 5 for both. So who's been more efficient with the ball?
Definitely.
And we've talked about this, we talked about it with Leicester, we talked about it with West Ham, being efficient with less possession. A, really fucking hard. B, really goddamn important. And I think England knew they weren't going to have possession. And watching, particularly, obviously I got kind of two halves, I guess, of England's defence. I had the second half, England were defending my end, and then I had the second half of extra time, England defending my end. And you just see the focus of the players and the diligence. Everyone was so laser focused on their job and where they needed to be, telling each other, pull up here, pull up there, you're there, drop back, here's this. They were covering each other. A player would step in to make a tackle. If they missed it, someone else was there. And to be able to play like that out of possession for 120 minutes, it must take so much of your brain to just be that focused for so long. And that's not to say Spain play with the ball for that bloody long, and they make all those little passes, and equally that's a different style of football and takes a different type of energy, and I just think both types of football are so hard to play, and then you see them come up against each other, and it really is just a chess match is just the best way to describe it, I think.
Honestly, Rach, so there's a great stat here. Across 360 minutes of knockout football, England were ahead for just 4 minutes and 52 seconds. They were behind for 2 hours and 53 minutes. Can you even cope with the level of pressure that you are under when for 2 hours and 53 minutes of the tournament, you know that you have to get a goal back? You have to get yourself back into the tournament. It's
amazing. And it reminds me, it makes me think of tennis. There's a sport where you can score less points and still win the game.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, when we talk about, wow, this team had 70 so many % possession, they had this many shots on target. Unless you're doing it at the right time and the right moments, it means nothing. You walk away with nothing in the end. So, England got a lot of shit this tournament. We got a lot of shit this tournament, talking about England. Talking about Spain, talking about how can England, how can teams exploit Spain? Do they have weaknesses? We were told we were obsessed. We were told we were biased. All of this bullshit, and, this is what football is about. We're trying to analyse it. Teams are trying to analyse it. There's different styles and different ways of playing. And, you're going to come up against a phenomenal team like Spain who play the most beautiful, technical football. You're not just going to roll over. You're not going to try and play your style on top of Spain. It's almost you almost have to relinquish the fact that, okay, this isn't going to be playing our way. We actually just have to be able to adapt. And it's the team that can adapt the best and be the most disciplined. And that's how you play against Spain. And it's really bloody hard. And, I do think credit to Spain. They have had a phenomenal tournament. They're a phenomenal team. This isn't the end of this team. This team of so many young players coming in now as well. This is... They're still on the start of their journey. They're still at the start, and they've had, you look back, the talk about England being in finals, how many finals Spain have been in over the last number of years has been incredible. So I'm glad it was an England-Spain final, and it's become a real rivalry now between the two teams.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think as disappointed as they are, I think they can be very proud of the tournament they've had and the performances they put in, particularly against the likes of Germany.
100%. We could have been having a completely different podcast today. I mean, when you look at that last minute effort, especially from Samuel Paraluelo in extra time, you're just thinking the game was so finely balanced. It was a moment was going to change history. Then you had Alexia Putellas being subbed off after 70 minutes for
she
Claudia
struggled.
Yeah, she wasn't getting into the game much at all, and she did not look happy when she came off. But Claudia Pino, as soon as she came on, the effect it was immediate. She immediately put England under pressure, and I was thinking, my God, I think she's going to be the person who destroys England's hopes.
She's threatening from outside the box as well. That's the 100%. Thing, right? It's
her long range efforts. My God,
and you cannot give her time. And a lot of the time with Spain, you sometimes try and force them to be taking those long range efforts because they're easier to deal with, I suppose, for goalkeeper and for defenders. But when Pina comes on, you're like, well, she can put it in the back of the net from 30 yards out. So now there's another challenge. You can't just force them out and have a shot from outside. You have to be close to that as well as close to them in the box. So yeah, completely different challenge.
But my God, mate, we've done it. We've done it. I mean, I don't even, when I woke up this morning, we were saying, there's sometimes those moments where you wake up and you're like, God, I wish I could have a couple of minutes sleep and be in this disbelief. I woke up this morning and for 2 seconds I hadn't appreciated the gravity of what had just taken place last night. And then I remembered, and then the smile came on my face, and then I went to go and find my England shirt, and then I joined this podcast, and it was everything that I wanted to do this morning, mate. I just feel so excited.
I've been dreaming about football during the tournament, which is quite fucking annoying because it's just my brain is too full, and I'll wake up.
Mate.
Yeah, I'll wake up and I'll have dreamt about another match, or I woke up yesterday And in my dream, England were playing Germany in the final and it was 6-4 at halftime. Like, I was like, fucking hell. Like, I can't be dealing. Like, I have stress in my sleep now as well. Like, that's how difficult this tournament has been. So yeah, I think then when I woke up, I was like, that definitely did happen though, right? Yes. Okay. No, it has happened. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, it was a beautiful moment to see a few of the England players in tears at the end of the game. Ella Toone and Beth Mead. I mean, understandably, like the emotion just...
Ella Toone was so emotional.
Yeah. Understandably so. You could understand sort of how much it meant to her, how much it meant to the family. Obviously a lot of sort of, oh mate, you captured it as well. Big hug there from Sassy Beegs.
Yeah, and that one, Beth and Leah.
May.
Yeah.
It was just, it meant a lot to the entire squad. They had battled through that, and that game, it was so well deserved. Such a great game to watch, so full of drama. The Lionesses will have their victory parade in central London on Tuesday afternoon. Rach, are you back for that?
Fuck coming? No on my back. No? Sorry, not a chance.
What? Why?
Absolutely not.
There's a victory parade on the
mall.
mall.
Yeah, been there, done that. I'm going on holiday, mate.
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to be there. Like, I'm going to do it in real life. Come on.